Hey guys, it's the middle of May, so it's time to perform a magic trick on our perennials. It's called Chelsea chop, and today I'll be doing that. I hope you will join me. Let's go. So what is that Chelsea chop? That is a pruning technique that has been used for probably centuries by gardeners, but it is performed in the middle of May, so around Chelsea flower show. That's why it's called Chelsea chop. We perform this pruning technique on perennials that have a tendency to flop. You want to delay the flowering of the flowers, or maybe you want to prolong the flowering of your perennials. And we can do it different ways, but each way is perfect. I've been using it for a few years now, and I'm loving this technique for my CATMINT, for my PENSTEMONS, for my SEDUMs, but I'll also tell you which other perennials you can use it for. The first perennial I started using this technique on was my CATMINT. Here you can see a CATMINT that I do not know the name of because it was bought just as CATMINT, but in my garden you can find Walker's Slow or Six Hills Giant, also Persian Blue or Cat's Pajamas. The first two are very good for borders, but they can get big, especially Six Hills Giant. This is a gigantic CATMINT. Walker's Slow is a bit lower. It has a nicer bushy structure, but Cat's Pajamas and Persian Blue are very compact types of CATMINT. And sometimes I have them for a very short time, so this year I will not be performing Chelsea chop on them, but on my older CATMINTs I always do it, and it gives me beautiful effects. So with pruning my CATMINT, it really depends on what I want to achieve. If I wanted my CATMINT to bloom later, but have a lot of flowers, I would cut it by half or by third, depending on the time I would like it to bloom. It is almost blooming, you can see it's almost ready. So with my CATMINT, I want to prolong the blooming time, not have it bloom later. So I will be cutting only the half of the CATMINT, the back side, I will cut it by half, and I will leave this part to bloom early. This way I get the flowers with my ALLIUMS, so the first part is blooming together with ALLIUMS, but the second one will be blooming when my roses start to bloom. So this way I'm having half of the flowers bloom earlier and half later. Then when these are spent, I will also cut them after blooming, and then they will regrow and bloom again together with the roses, because the roses blooming time is a bit longer than the ALLIUMS. At the same time as I'm pruning my CATMINT, I'm looking at my tulips. They are really spent, so it's time to deadhead them. I usually cut off the stem with the flower. We do that because in this place, this is where the seeds will be. And as we are removing this stem, we are not making the flower to take the energy to produce seeds. All the energy from the leaves will go to the bulb to be better next year. So I go through my garden, through the thousands of tulips I have, and I deadhead them all, and I just compost the spent flowers. Tulip leaves need to be yellow, and this is the moment I will be removing them. This is why I'm planting a lot of tulips among my CATMINTs, because this way they are hidden and I don't need to look at those yellow dry leaves. This is the great way to interplant them with perennials that will hide this view. So what other perennials can you perform Chelsea chop on? My favorites are PENSTEMONS because they have a tendency to flop in my borders every time they grow beautiful, and then it's like so I cut them pretty hard, half of them, and then the blooms will be smaller, but they will stand upright in my border, and there won't be a problem. Another perennial is the SEDUM, because if you have sedums in a bit not that sunny position, or you have very fertile soil, then the sedums grow pretty big. You have beautiful umbrella shaped flowers, but they are very heavy and they have the tendency to flop, and you want them to be lower and have a lot of flowers. And with sedums, if you perform the Chelsea chop pruning on them, the flowers will be smaller, but there will be more of them, and I think it's better than the big ones that will be just flopping all around the border. Let's go to the sedums. My sedum Matrona grows here next to my beautiful wisteria. This is amethyst. I had so many problems with this wisteria. It didn't want to bloom for so many years. I've been pruning it properly. I think it was this place was too dry because we have so many other trees like birch and maples. So I gave it the watering line, and I've been pruning it I've been really focused on pruning it right, and now it's blooming finally with a lot of flowers. We had few years that it had 7 flowers, and this year it is really beautiful. But the sedums, I wanted to show you how to prune them. So here I have a really beautiful, not that old, sedum Matrona. This is a beautiful dark red sedum, and it looks beautiful in a vase. So you can cut those parts that will be Chelsea chopping, and you can put it in a vase. If we remove the lower leaves, it will probably root, and you can have the free plants in your garden. I will be rooting all of my cuttings today. I will show you how. And also with this sedum, I will cut half of it, and I think it will be very happy about it. I also have smaller ones there, but they are hidden in the euphorbia. This euphorbia is crazy, and it grows every year very fast. So I need to put on my gloves and take some of it out around the sedums so they get enough light. All are pruned. Now it's time to root them in water. Let's go to my terrace. We'll do that in a nicer place. Okay, I will be removing the lower leaves, all of them, leaving just these ones on top, and just put them in water. That's all you need to do. They look like succulents, so I think it's really nice foliage for an arrangement. You can use them as an arrangement, but you can also leave them in water, but just remember to have a lot of water inside, and they will root very fast. I think about 2 to 3 weeks you will have the roots, and then you can plant them in the garden. But I heard people planting them without any rooting, and they also take in the garden. I will try a few of them. I will just put them like this into the compost, and we'll see if they also root in the soil. I keep this jar on my windowsill in the kitchen. It's a pretty sunny space, and I look at the water level every day. They need to be submerged. If some of them are shorter, I will put it in another vase so they are all submerged. At least half of it is in water. The best, of course, no foliage in water, then you will have problems. So only the stems are in water, and you need to check regularly if they are not drying out. I hope that in about 3 weeks I will be putting them in the garden. Next up is my PENSTEMONS. They are always flopping in the border. Here are my PENSTEMONS. I will be chopping them by half because they always grow very tall. They have very large stems with flowers, and they are always flopping. And I also need them to be a bit shorter because they are in the front of the border. So I will be chopping them by half, and hopefully we'll get more flowers and they will be a bit shorter. Okay, I'm done with the penstemons. Now in the garden there is so much work. If you have bulbs, tulips, hyacinths, then alliums, there is always a lot of work because you need to deadhead them, then you need to cut the yellow leaves. So I'm doing a lot of maintenance just so the borders look beautiful. So this week I'm doing a lot of tulip deadheading, then I'm also cutting the yellowing leaves of the alliums. You can do that even if they are blooming. Alliums are different than tulips. Tulips, after deadheading, the leaves need to yellow and dry. And with alliums, you can cut the yellow parts of the leaves because they start yellowing before the blooms appear. So I'm going around all my alliums and I'm cutting all of the yellow leaves. Maybe sometimes they are hidden under the CATMINT or other perennials, but some of them are seen and I don't like this look because in May I want everything to be super green and super beautiful and those yellowing leaves don't look that nice. So this is my plan for this week. Next week I will invite you to see the video about my azaleas, about all of my rhododendrons. I have a lot of them and they are looking beautiful. They centra, can you see it? It's called Golden Heart. It is a beautiful perennial that is blooming early in the season. I don't do Chelsea chop on her, but oh, I love this. I love this. And I will be talking about those flowers next week. I hope you will join me. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. See you.